Rob Bro. He's your sports bro at KKAM.com and the Talk 1340 app.
You guys are not doing any pass blocking. You're just stepping aside and letting them walk in.
Pop, 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 pop. That's what I want. All of you around that ball. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all play like some little girls. Y'all like y'all never played football before. These guys are nothing.
You hear me?
They breathe just like we do.
Yes, sir.
They sweat just like we do.
Do you hear me?
They went through 2 days. We went through 2 days in 110-degree heat.
Yes, sir.
I want you to hit everything to move. If the ref gets in your way, you hit him.
Okay, then, let's play.
But they're cheating us too. They're against us too. This is our team. This is us. Let's go right now. Let's get it up now. Let's go.
Welcome in. It's the Rob Rose Show, Talk 103.9 News, Money, Sports. I am the host. You are the co-host. You can text in 806-855-3712. Lots of stuff to discuss today. Texas Tech football spring practice starts today. This afternoon. Very excited for Texas Tech spring football this year. It comes at a time where there's a coaching search going on in basketball, so no postseason or anything else. The Lady Raiders in action on Friday after winning last night. Very good game last night. A little rough in the third quarter, but a strong finish and a fourth quarter domination from the Lady Raiders. They dominated the first half. They dominated the fourth quarter. And Bailey Maupin, the freshman, the changing of the guard, you can say, from Bree Scott to Bailey Maupin. We are witnessing it before our eyes. She is the future. And she has had a really good WNIT. Hit a bunch of three-pointers in game 1. Hit a bunch of points in the paint and free throws in game 2. And now they travel to Arkansas on Friday for the Super 16. Which does not sound as cool as the Sweet 16, but is as equally advanced in the tournament as a Sweet 16 because this is a full 64-team bracket. Arkansas dominating Stephen F. Austin last night. Kansas and Nebraska are the other two in this regional, so you'll play the winner if you win in the Great 8, I believe. The Great 8, the Super 16, they're in the WNIT. And again, Coach Gerlich, the Lady Raiders, 20 wins. We talked about in the football season where Joey McGuire was getting past all these thresholds you hadn't been to in 15 years. Well, the Lady Raiders are also crossing a bunch of thresholds for the first time in a decade or so to the postseason. 20 wins. All Big 12 performers. If you win another game or two, I'm sure you're going to have an all-tournament performer in Bailey Maupin. Very, very exciting for the Lady Raiders. And I'm not saying they prefer that the men weren't in the NCAA tournament. I'm sure they would prefer that they were, but the Lady Raiders really getting all the basketball pub right now beyond the coaching search. And the coaching search has been very quiet. Though I do think tonight's game between Grant McCasland and Oklahoma State, the North Texas Screaming Eagles. No, wait, that's O'Donnell. North Texas there doing what they can do against Oklahoma State tonight. They are underdogs, but I do think you're seeing a bit of a, I don't know, an interview, an audition. Therefore, McCasland, I still do think he is in the mix. Is he the leading candidate? I don't know. It sure seems that way by the amount of people who are talking about coaching candidates. But I also do think that this committee has been tight-lipped. Dustin Womble has been interviewed once. Dr. Lawrence Skuvenick right here on Talk 103.9 yesterday talking about the coaching committee and their process and how they have gone through some Zoom interviews and will do a few more Zoom interviews, which to me means either guys still in the tournament or guys who have just lost this weekend. Now they're on the schedule. They have also scheduled a few in-person interviews for a head coaching job. So there are guys outside of the NCAA tournament that they're going after as well. And they are in that process and along that process, and some names have been reported. But nothing imminent, nothing overly firm, in my opinion. Certainly, though, some smoke around Grant McCasland, the North Texas coach. And I've kind of talked myself into him a little bit, Grant McCasland. I was never out on Grant McCasland. I was just never really all in. I would be fine with that hire, as I've said 100 times on this program in the Raiderland in the past month. And even the Gambling Gauchos, you can listen to it on YouTube or wherever else you catch a podcast. Just search Gambling Gauchos. But there just seems to be an air around Grant McCasland that would be safe. You're not going and stealing another Power 6 coach. You're not going and getting a guy like Tubby Smith, who's won a national championship at Kentucky. You're not going and getting a guy who was at Texas Tech under Bob Knight for a decade and has had success at multiple stops, albeit short stops, and just beat, well, doesn't look as good now, but just beat Matt Painter in the NCAA tournament. You'd be getting a guy fresh off an NIT run out of Conference USA. Now, again, if you look at his T-rank success or his KenPom success, his defensive metrics, the offensive numbers, where he's been, what he's done at where he's been, some of the major issues like recruiting, you feel like Texas Tech can recruit to Texas Tech because it's Texas Tech, right? And there's certainly a sense that you recruit as a coach and people come for the coach and not the university now. But you have to think with a nationally recognized top 5 facility in the Womble Center, with the USA, with top 4 attendance year over year in the Big 12 for a 5-year stretch now, with Raider Riot, with a football program on the rise. Does it matter? Yeah. With an athletic department that is being successful, track and field, baseball, Lady Raiders now in the postseason. When you can see that athletic department-wide success, that helps every program. Hey, come here if you want to be successful. And whether that's recruiting coaches or players. The issue I have or had with Grant McCasland is that he built a Power 6 staff and not a Conference USA staff, which was my major problem with Matt Wells when he got here. He just brought a Mountain West staff. And then added albeit a former player who I really love that he got here, but a Conference USA wide receivers coach when his guy left. If Grant McCasland comes, if he gets a great staff, I have no issue with that. Not a major issue. But it also wouldn't be a splash, which a lot of people threw around that word early in the coaching search, a splash hire. I do hope, though, that the Lady Raiders get their due for being in the Super 16 in the WNIT, even though you also have two other sports and spring football going on right now. Well, more than two sports, but two sports that are doing really well. Nobody in the D1 world has more combined wins between a softball and baseball program than Texas Tech this weekend. As of today, through last weekend, nobody, I think maybe the softball program put that stat out, or the athletic department, whoever it was. Texas Tech has the most D1 wins between a baseball and softball program. They're both going to Austin this weekend. A tough place to play regardless of how the other team is. The Texas Longhorns have won 10 straight, but really haven't played anybody. You've not won 10 straight. You have 2 losses in your last... how long ago, how many games ago was... You might have 4 losses in your last 10. I'm not looking at a schedule, but those are to teams with a pulse. Iowa gets you once. Iowa's pretty good. Oklahoma State gets you once. I think Oklahoma State probably still the best team in the Big 12, if it's not Texas Tech. But all that goes out the window when you go to Austin. All of it. And I mean all of it. You've had some success there. It's not out of the question. Tim Tadlock certainly isn't pulling a Paul Mills and Oral Roberts head coach saying, well, it's Duke. It's Texas. That burnt orange is pretty intimidating. No, he's pulling a Jerome Tang, or either he pulls a Tang or Tang pulled a Tadlock, saying, I don't care who it is. Roger Clemens isn't coming through that door. Roger Clemens' son, was it Cody? Carson? Chris? One of those. Isn't coming through that door. Cody Clemens? Who is the Golden Spikes kid? Cody? Carson? Craig? Started with a C, I think. Or a K. It might have started with a K. Was it Casey? Anyways, I don't know why I'm spending so much time on that. I think it was Cody, though. Regardless, you have the cachet to waltz down into Austin and beat them 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3. Let's hit the text line real quick before we hit our first break. Rob, I'm slowly getting off the Jason Kidd as a coach bandwagon. The Mavs lost last night by 4 and only scored 12 points in the fourth quarter, and he didn't call a timeout when he should have. He was asked why he didn't, and he said, actually, when you take a timeout, you kind of send a message that you don't trust him. Why would a coach say that? Because Jason Kidd is a terrible coach. He was a bad hire. He wasn't successful at his last stops. Jason Kidd is just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great coach. It seems like after every big loss, and they've had a lot lately, just terrible, excruciating collapses. And afterwards, he's like, yeah, well, I'm just sitting and watching the game. I'm watching the same game you are. No, you're coaching, Jason. Every coach in America takes timeouts, Jason. Except for you and Mark Adams. All right, we'll take a break when we come back. It's Rob Rowe Show, Talk 103.9. More texts coming. You can text in 806-855-3712. It's Rob Rowe Show, Talk 103.9 News, Money Sports.
Up.
Welcome back. Rob Rowe Show, Talk 103.9 News, Money, Sports. This texter, I wonder if Bruce Pearl could still be a dark horse candidate to success at multiple Power 5 programs. Maybe. I mean, would you rather go get a guy like Bruce Pearl, who you know what his ceiling is, but it's a pretty good ceiling, or a guy like Grant McCasland, where you kind of roll the dice on what his ceiling could be? This texter went and watched one Lady Raiders game this year in person. Unfortunately, it was the big Bring Back 93 National Championship Team Day, and Baylor dominated them in the loss. Exposed that there's lots of work to do in becoming a legitimate NCAA postseason contender. Nice that I can watch them on ESPN Plus this season, and hopefully Tech makes another round in the NIT. Yeah, Baylor wasn't as good this year, but they're still the cream of the Big 12. And I don't know that game exposed them so much as the season did. I would say that game in West Virginia, where you really gave it away at the end. There's a few more games where I really thought Texas Tech should have won and couldn't close it out. That Baylor game, when big stuff like that happens and you have big reunions or whatever else, it just feels like there's a little bit of a distraction. I wouldn't read too much into that one game in particular, but you're dead on that this team is still a year or two away. Now, the youth on this team, and if this was men's basketball, I would start saying, a lot of these players are going to be taken away. It's just because that's kind of how men's basketball works. But in women's basketball still, you have a really good NIL program for the Lady Raiders, team-wide deal. Plus, other players can go and make what they want to make on top of that. I would say that Coach Gerlich, and this young core with the players they've recruited and the number one JUCO girl that came this year and didn't play, moving into next year, you're going to take a big step. And Ryla McKinney and Bailey Maupin got a ton of minutes this year as freshmen and sophomores. McKinley, the third-year sophomore. You feel good about the direction of the Lady Raiders. I do. I feel good. This texter, spring football. My thoughts exactly. I'm really excited about spring football. By the way, there's some notable number changes and position changes that were released today as part of the Texas Tech media update for spring football. We got a spring roster. I have not looked over the spring roster in depth yet. I've been on air. That's something we will certainly do over the next couple of days. And the new numbers, Rabbit's gone to number 1. Miles Cole to number 6. Coy Eakin to number 8. A data rate of 14. Robert Wooten's still around. Did not know that. To 15. From 51 to 15, I think. The newcomers, Ledette Jr., Quincy Ledette Jr., defensive lineman, number 5. Steve Linton from Syracuse, number 7. C.J. Baskerville, number 9. Dre McCray, number 10. Rusty Stats, 53. 53 is a great number for a center, by the way. Great number. If I had mentioned spring football today, very exciting. This texter, no thanks on Bruce Pearl. Already had that sideshow here. We just called it Chris Beard. If Bruce Pearl came and got you to 2 Elite Eights, a Final Four, and a national championship appearance, I would not complain. I would not complain. By the way, Chris Beard was never coming back, but there's a world. There's a world where he might have. Oh, man. Some alternate reality. I wonder if you could get in a room with Chris Beard off the record and legitimately ask him if he regrets leaving Texas Tech and the situation he had where they were all in on him and the fans were completely 100% bought in and they were on a higher trajectory, even though they'd gone 500. If he could go back even a year or two into his tenure and kind of change some of the things he did, I wonder how much remorse and regret there is. Because from the outside, it seems like zero. And the only regret is that he, failed at Texas because of his personal life. But even that, there doesn't seem like there's any regret. Just, there's regret that not that it happened, because in his press conference he said he knows what happened. But there's regret that it, I guess, went public. The 30 for 30 on Chris Beard and Mark Adams and that era of Texas Tech basketball, if that is ever made, will be fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. This texter, yeah, maybe. I'm not going to read that. There's a lot more reasons or things that would have had to happen for Chris Beard to come back, not just what the texter says. All right, let's take the break. When we come back, let's do a little preview of spring football. What we're looking for, what we want to see, any kind of things that will make you feel better or worse about Texas Tech football. You can text them in 806-855-3712. What do you want to see? What do you want to have happen? Who do you want to shine here in spring football 2023, year 2 of Joey McGuire? It's the Rob Burrow Show, Talk 103.9 News, Money Sports. Welcome back. It's the Rob Burrow Show, Talk 103.9 News, Money Sports. The text line, 806-855-3712. Some broad thoughts on Texas Tech spring football. And I do mean broad. What do I personally want to see? And again, I want your answers as well. 806-855-3712. What do you want to see from spring football? I want to see Tyler Shough dominate the quarterback position battle. And I still think there should be a position battle. I don't think anybody's in pin. I want to see him dominate. Just go out, own the team, play better than Behren Morton, leave no doubt that he should be the starter moving forward. Now, it is hard to argue with Tyler Shough's on-field performance this season. If you look at who he played against and who Behren Morton played against and the health of the quarterbacks while they were playing, I can absolutely see why somebody would want to see Behren Morton early this coming year. And I can absolutely see why somebody would say that it is a true quarterback competition and Behren Morton should get a shot to be the starter heading into next year. I get all that. But in my opinion, and this is not the opinion I had last year. I was absolutely a Behren Morton guy last year. But how Tyler Shough closed last year, winning 4 straight, again, the competition level. Yes, he looked really bad coming in cold against TCU. But in games that Tyler Shough has started and finished, Texas Tech is undefeated. In a game where nobody looked good on offense, in Ames, Iowa, in the snow, he threw a dot to Baylor Cupp and ran some really tough first downs to score enough points to win that game. He put you in a hole early against Oklahoma and absolutely willed you back. The Texas Bowl speaks for itself. And then you have, my biggest knock on Tyler Shough was that it seemed like he was just here for Tyler Shough. And then you have the comments post-game against Oklahoma. You have the podcast he went on with some Oregon guys extolling the virtues of West Texas and Texas Tech. Being liberal with his language, showing a little personality. And then one of the dumbest things of the offseason that really makes me feel good about Tyler Shough as a starting quarterback was that skit he did making fun of Coach Kirk. The personality plus buying back in for year 3 now, becoming a true Red Raider. If he can put together a full season of tape, where does he land on the pantheon of Texas Tech quarterbacks? I don't know, but pretty high in my opinion, especially if he wins 8 or 9 games this year. Do I think Behren Morton is the future? Yes. Do I think Behren Morton has a higher ceiling with his arm? Probably. But I am higher on Tyler Shough than I've ever been heading into this year. And I want to see that manifested on the field in spring practice. Tyler Shough was really bad in the spring game last year. Objectively. Not that anybody was way better, but Shough was objectively bad. I want to see him dominate this year and really control the proceedings. I also want to see Behren Morton dominate, but I want Tyler Shough to claim this job moving into the fall, and it seems like he already has, but I don't want too much. I don't want this, we're going to play both quarterbacks. I want a starting quarterback. And I want Behren Morton to play a bunch because Tyler Shough's just running away with teams in the first half, in the first 3 quarters. That's the dream. Elsewhere, a lot of position changes on the defense in that front 7. Adederay flipping the defensive line roles. A couple of guys being called, linebacker instead of D-line. Josiah Pierre, one of those guys. A couple of guys being called outside linebacker instead of defensive line. That's that Tyree Wilson role. It feels like you're going to have Adederay and Miles Cole and a couple of other guys in that role. Very excited to see what that rolls into. Dre McCray, how exciting does he look? The health of Loic Fouonji, how exciting does he look? Obviously, Duran Bradley. There's only so much you can tell in a spring football setting, 1s-on-1s and 2s-on-2s and whatever else. But when you look just as an outsider on returners, you have to be high on this offense because not everyone is back, but you have 10 or 11 starters back. There are some guys that started last year that aren't back. Weston Wright, Trey Cleveland, now at North Texas. But the bulk is all back. Sir Roderick Thompson not back, but you feel really good about your running back room. To the text line, Rob, Tyler will crush all your dreams and hopes, and denying it is inevitable. Has he crushed them yet, besides getting hurt? By the way, people saying he's injury prone because he got his collarbone hurt twice. They put titanium in that bad boy the second time. It's not getting hurt again. Knock on wood. Sorry, I threw off Connor there. What was that knock? And again, if there were questions about Tyler Shought's toughness, how did those last 4 weeks not alleviate all of that? Now, do I think he's going to come in and have a Patrick Mahomes 5,000-yard season? No, but do I think he could have a Nick Shimonek season? Yeah. 3,900 yards of offense, passing, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Would you take that? Yes. Of course you would. Especially if it's, 400 or 500 yards of rushing too. This texter on the coaching search, Rob, I call him Grant McGasland with a G because he's a fart. Grande Pollo. Again, Grant McCasland is a guy. He's a jag, man. He's just a guy. He's a guy who I envision could be successful here, but there are also other guys I think could also be successful that I would need to get in and call before I get to McCasland, and it seems like they're doing that. They're not just interviewing one guy. It's not just a charade to delay before they actually hire McCasland. If they hire McCasland, it's because they think he's the best guy, in my opinion. And a couple of guys turned him down. One last text here before we go to the break. Rob, stop waking up Connor by knocking. This is the time he gets the best sleep. I have to see it to believe it for Shuck. He's not impressed me yet. Hopefully he does this year. How did the last 4 games not impress you? I mean, he was really impressive against Ole Miss. He was really impressive in the last 3 quarters against Oklahoma. I was really impressed with the Iowa State game. He was really impressive against, who'd you open up against? Montana State? Granted, Montana State. Are there deficiencies in Tyler Shuck's game? Yes. But I am a Tyler Shuck fan. Let's head to break here on this one. I'm a Tyler fan after meeting him up close and personal at a church luncheon where he shared his faith in Jesus. Surprisingly, found at Oregon as a freshman. Our group prayed over his upcoming season, and I prayed over his shoulders and protection from injuries. How about a Heisman Trophy as Tech goes off for a big season? We'll see. It's the Rob Breaux Show, Talk 103.9 News, Winning Sports. One final segment after this. Welcome back. It's Rob Rowe Show, Talk 103.9 News Money Sports. This texter, after years of crazy stats, do Tech fans have an inability to evaluate quarterback play in 2023? This is such an interesting question. This texter is known to have interesting questions. He does it for a living. I'm intrigued by the question because I think for a while, absolutely. In 17, Shimonek's play was so looked down upon because he wasn't Patrick Mahomes or B.J. Simmons. Alan Bowman threw for 600 yards and got 2 years of praise off of it in one game. And then you haven't had a good quarterback since play for a season. Since Shimonek, you've not had a guy play for a full season. In 18, you had Bowman and Duffy. In 19, you had Bowman and Duffy and Colombi. In 20, you had Bowman and Colombi. 21, you had Shuck and Donovan Smith and Colombi. Did I give too many years of Colombi there? How long was he here? And then last year you had Shuck, Donovan, Morton, and Shuck. If Shuck plays a full season, he will be the best quarterback since Nick Shimonek, stats-wise, for a full season. Partly by the nature of I think he's the best quarterback since. You have 2 quarterbacks on the roster that I think would be the best quarterback since. Partly because he would have played every game this season, and that hasn't happened since. But I do think there is part of it that is compounded there by the Zach Kittley offense, and you're still expecting the Western Kentucky Bailey Zappi production. So it's not only that Texas Tech has had a history of huge quarterback play, but it's also that you hired an offensive coordinator that just broke B.J. Simmons' record that stood for 20 years. So I do think there is a little bit, but I think that's just as Big 12 fans. You're a little bit skewed when you look at offense because of what the offense was in the Big 12 for so long. And it hasn't been that in 5 or 6 years. Rob, in your opinion, what is a successful football season? What is a successful basketball season? And with the new basketball coach, what is our goal and timeline for him? Final 4 appearance in 3 years, Natty in 5. Let's go question by question. When you're asking what is a successful season, that is strictly year by year basis. And in this year for football, people are going to look down on this, I think. But in my opinion, doing what you did last year for a second year in a row, that's a winning Big 12 record. And a bowl around the Texas Bowl. Let's not say you have to go to the Texas Bowl, but that kind of bowl. So that would be 7 or 8 wins because you could go 3-0 in non-conference play. You did not last year. And a quality bowl game. That is a successful season in year 2 of Joey McGuire. Do you want to start punching up to Big 12 championship land very soon? Yes. Is it a unsuccessful season if you go 7-5, lose to Oregon, and have a winning Big 12 record? No. If you go 3-0 in non-conference play, go 7-5 and have a losing Big 12 record, still good, but in my opinion, a step back. So if you beat Oregon, I want to be 8-4. That is success to me. I want a winning Big 12 record every year, 5-4 at the least. Anything over that, cake in year 2 of Joey McGuire land. What is a successful basketball season in the NCAA tournament? And moving forward for the Lady Raiders, an NCAA tournament. I think once you get to the NIT, once you get some postseason taste, every year, NCAA tournament, that's the goal. Let me get a coach hired before I start doing the timeline for him. And then we just get an angel emoji. All right. One last text to end on. The Shuckanon fans who keep trying to drag our QB1 down are the perpetually miserable fans we have to endure. Shuck will be first team All Big 12 this season. If not Shuck, who? If not Shuck, who? Dylan Gabriel? Blake Shapen? The mullet? I think he cut the mullet off, though. Quinn Ewers. We'll be back tomorrow on the Raiderland, 11 a.m. I'm Rob Bro. I'll be Rob Bro. I've been Rob Bro. We'll see you then.
The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this Talk 1340 program are not necessarily the views of Talk 1340, its advertisers, staff, management, or Town Square Media.